Well, in the UK, at least 77 people have been charged following protests at 3 printing presses. The demonstrations were led by the activist group Extinction Rebellion. Media outlets targeted have been accused by demonstrators of failing to properly report on climate change. British officials have roundly criticized the protests, accusing the activists of limiting the public's access to news. Well, Maryam Karimi joins us now with more insight. She's an assistant professor at the University of Alabama. Maryam, thanks so much for joining us. First, tell us a bit more about Extinction Rebellion, its cause, and why this specific targeting of these specific presses.
Well, thank you so much for having me. Well, basically, with the pandemic going on, the protest at this point may not be the best way to go about it. We have very young activists that are right now, mainly in the U.S., focused on hosting virtual events to make sure that climate change is a top priority for people, mainly when they're going to make important decisions. And there are many ways that we could actually go about educating people about. On the topic of climate change, we could use the media, public speeches, and so forth.
Some in the UK are questioning the group's tactics, and there's been calls to classify it as an organized crime group. The UK Prime Minister and the head of the Labour Party on the opposite sides of the political spectrum, both condemning its actions, which delay the delivery of newspapers across the country. Your thoughts about the consequences there and that impact on what they're calling freedom of press?
Oh, well, there, like I said, there are issues with the pandemic right now, but people have the freedom of speech. And this climate change is a very important fact that, a lot of people are not, they are aware of it, but they are ignoring it. So there are these protests going on, and they're trying to make sure that their voices are being heard.
How effective do you think groups like this are in the fight against climate change? I mean, is there not a risk that these sorts of tactics by a group like Extinction Rebellion might actually alienate those whose support climate activists ultimately need?
May so be.
Well, this is an election year, Maryam, and it's an unusual one at that. How is the issue of climate change featured in the campaigns, if at all?
Well, here in the U.S., you do hear a lot about it, and there are many people that are focusing on the climate change, and they want to make sure that we are addressing this in the future. We are already running late when it comes down to the changes that we have to be making in terms of our climate change. We have to consider that climate change is actually a climate crisis, and it's going to be impacting everyone. It will actually manifest itself in various ways without even one solution that can even fit all. So this is going to pretty much take a massive toll on human life, and it needs to be, there are a lot of actions that need to be taken.
We've been seeing these images coming from California of the fires there. We just talked about the typhoon that's about to hit Japan. Is this related to changes in climate change?
Definitely so. So one of the major problems that we have right now, even with the pandemic going on, the overarching problem is climate change. And there are many people who are pushed out of their homes because of the extreme events, hurricanes, heat events that is going around, not just in California or in the U.S., but in many parts of the world.
All right, Maryam Karimi there from the University of Alabama. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you very much.